Hey guys, thanks for catching part 2 of my interview with Jason Evans. He's an old friend from my old acting days, and we shared a lot of stories about acting and the art of performance, and a lot of things that we're both passionate about. So, and if you like the content, don't forget to like, subscribe, and even share. So enjoy.
I'm gonna quote Enrique. How's your COVID experience been?
It's been good. The weirdest thing was the lack of theater.
Yeah.
That was probably the strangest thing. And I had a hard time. I'm better now. I still don't know how I feel completely about it, but I had a hard time with the whole Zoom performance thing. And
Yeah.
I've been kind of doing that with my theater company a little bit. We've been doing basically they do something every month. I don't always participate in
Hmm.
the shows. The It's just weird because I started doing technical theater like
Hmm.
8 years ago,
Yeah.
and I had the opportunity to go to Saudi Arabia last year,
Wow.
which is actually where I got this.
Yeah, I
This
was gonna say. Yeah.
this means yalla in Arabic, which is like
Okay.
a sport chant for like let's go.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
um, and that was a great experience. So I did that last November. Went right on tour with Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer as the head carpenter. Came back, got hired as the technical director for McCoy Rigby Entertainment, and then boom, COVID. I was like,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay,
Yeah.
there went that trajectory.
Yeah.
Uh, but I've just been, I started making ends meet with Postmates, and I'm grateful for that. And I've just been kind of like, kind of going inward and assessing like where I am with myself. I mean, kind of existential thinking, I guess, but what I'm doing with life, if I really, how I want to move forward,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff. I got heavily into meditation. I meditate every day, um, and kind of got more into my spirituality in that sense.
I'm finding I'm finding a lot that a lot of people have been kind of doing their own kind of self um analyzing and kind of just
Mhm.
refocusing basically and not it's a weird place to be because how many times are we really have a time for ourselves for this long, because and that's the thing when like when you're busy like, oh, I need time for myself, and like now I've had my time for myself, so it's like I'm glad I got to have this entire like year long, I guess, sabbatical, because I got to kind of like figure out more and more like what I kind of what how I can evolve into like what's going on, because clearly I can't go out and DJ and with a bunch of people, dancing and spreading the virus and stuff,
Yeah,
which is scary.
yeah, I know. But it's
Yeah,
funny, yeah, when you think about club atmospheres, it's like, wow, that would be definitely a
I
festering ground
it,
for that kind of thing.
the scary thing right now is like I know there are a lot of people in my industry who are ignoring the warnings,
Mm,
I mean,
mhm.
they're wearing masks, but like, what's safer than wearing a mask? Not having these events. So, I mean, I look, I understand that brides want to get married and like out of obligation. I did some weddings out of obligation, and I love those clients and I trusted them, so I made that decision. But I took like a 2 week break after to make sure that I wasn't showing any symptoms,
Yeah, yeah,
But
responsible. Yeah.
you let your guard down once, and I already had one friend get it from DJing a wedding, and then it spread to his girlfriend, to his brother, another coworker,
Mhm.
and then and so on and so on. So it's like that. Technically, that bride put everyone at risk just because she wanted to have her wedding. It's like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
it's a hard pill to swallow. I don't want to tell someone like you can't do your wedding because like you never want to do that in this industry. And also, I don't want to critique people because you have every right to run your business the way you want,
yeah.
And these are colleagues I'll be working with back. Well, like when things go back to normal, I'm going to work with these people. So it's like I don't want to burn bridges and say anything bad, but I mean, in my opinion, like I'm not cool with what you're doing, and it's like that's a hard part. I talked to a friend about like after COVID because yeah, we'll take off masks. We're gonna things are gonna open. We can be normal, but like
Mhm.
the mentality and the things that we observed from what happened during this time, I'm gonna remember. Like I'm gonna remember the person
Yeah.
we were during this crisis, and that's what scares me because maybe I did enjoy the ignorance of just like knowing that this is my friend. I don't know nothing about their beliefs, but they're my friend. But now
Yeah.
it's like I know too much about you, and like I know what you support. I know the risk. I know what if we were so friends among this time, you would have endangered my family.
Mhm.
So it's hard to go back to like, hey, let's go Starbucks or let's plan a weekend. So yeah,
Yeah.
not looking forward to that, but I do miss my friends, and it's not that I don't miss people that have different beliefs than I do. I just think in terms of what happened, I think when it comes to wanting to salvage human life, that's
Mhm.
always it's gonna over, like that's always gonna over teeter my scale of like what's important,
Yeah.
So it's just difficult to adjust to someone who may not have the same belief, but it's normal. That's just life.
Well, like you bring up a good point. Well, first I want to say, like the wedding thing, I had a couple of friends who did get married in July, and the way they did it was great. I mean, they went to, I don't remember the name of the venue, but it's in the Santa Monica Mountains, and it was just the two of them. The officiant, which is my very good friend Drew, who's a great person and a hysterical actor, and so him officiating was great because he's great at improv. It was fun.
Drew,
Drew Boudreau.
yeah, from
You know Drew?
Maverick. Yeah, I know Drew.
Yeah, exactly.
Is he still in improv or
Yeah, I mean,
he was?
yeah.
Yeah, okay, yeah, I know Drew.
You know, it's kind of a revolving door of performers. They'll pop on sometimes.
Yeah.
But he officiated it, and it was just the two. It was just Brian and Shelley, my two friends, and then him, and then I think their parties and the photography, the videography crew. But everybody was distant, and the way it was stunning. They used a drone, and there's one point where they're at the back of the venue, which there's the street in the front of it, and in the back, and then there's a bottom like terrace level, and the bottom level is just beautiful. It almost looks like a ballroom floor outside, and it just overlooks the mountains just for eternity. And so they did it at sunset, so the drone footage is just the two of them and Drew, who is distant from them.
Yeah.
And when they walked down, they had their masks on, so they're promoting that. It was
they had their mask on. Wow,
awesome. And we attended it on Zoom. It was great.
That's great. Yeah,
it was a cool thing. And then they had some screenshots of the whole screen and everybody. They wanted us all to send photos of us, like little selfies with the computer in the background, what we were wearing, and I wore a suit cool. Anyway.
Nice,
so
that
was a fun thing,
Yeah.
But you bring up a good point with things not quite being the same afterward now.
Yeah.
Because I love that I have friends who think differently than I do. I think it's important, vital for you to have that in life. Yeah. That's the only way that you learn. And hopefully we just learn all the way until the day we die. That's the goal. But it's a matter of like, I think that what COVID has exposed is I don't think how to say this, because I have a lot of thoughts about this kind of thing.
Oh, yeah.
It has to do with the parts of the inner parts of your personality that deal with the way that you have learned to think in life, and that with the racial justice movement in the summer, on top of that, has really caused a lot of people. It's like the universe was going, here's your mirror. How do you feel?
Yeah.
Think about it, And a lot of people have had to do that now, and with many different things. And that's exposed certain truths about certain people's personalities that are really deeply rooted. And then you now know, we've learned that some people in our lives don't want to look at that and will not. And that, I think, is where the divide sits.
Yeah.
Like you and I are talking right now. The preservation of human life is vitally important. I will wear a mask. I will stay away from you if it could risk you dying. Whether it doesn't have to be a political thing. It's just a matter of humanity. It's humanity. It's not political. Yeah.
It's not political. It's not
exactly.
Political. Yeah.
And like, even if I believe the evidence supports that it does work is true. But even if it wasn't true or it was highly speculative, I would still wear it anyway. Because it's like, what if it is true? Then you happen to save people by not exposing them. There's nothing wrong with that, It's
it's honestly, when you really think about it, it's really common sense. Because how do you like stop a virus that's spreading quickly? You lessen exposure, and you cover the exposed areas, which is the mouth. Like those are the two simple things we need to do. Just avoid each other and cover the access area of where the virus is going to go. Is this 100%? No, because like air particles are like fucking tiny as shit, like it can seep in through any, like it's not 100%, but it's still a bigger percentage than doing just like talking in someone's face, like
Yeah.
and that's why, like, when people are like, oh, bars are closed, you know why bars are closed? How many times you talk to somebody this far away at a bar? No, you go in close and like it's loud and like, how's it going, like what's your name, like that's
Yeah.
just instant contagion right there, so
Totally.
I want businesses to thrive and survive, I really do. I'm not against churches closing down and stuff, I think there are solutions to they're different, there's not normal, but like streaming a church service is, you still donate money, and support your churches through streams. And then, businesses, if you want to, hey, have the local business, if you're going to order takeout, give them a little extra, like, and you're going to spend more money eating out anyways. And people, it's funny because I used to work in the restaurant industry, and like there was a time where like we thought no one's going out anymore, people are going to Chipotle, and now it's like, now the fact that we can't go out, people want to go out. So it's like where the fuck were you when like the industry was dying? Like now you want to go. Now when like you're jeopardizing your lives.
Yeah.
And I
it's
get
like
it.
There's a little piece of you that's like, oh, you want us around for your convenience. I see.
Yeah.
Convenient right now.
yeah.
Right.
So it's like I said, I don't want to judge it, but it does leave a lasting impression on my just my thoughts of people, and that to me is, I feel like that's more damaging to those friendships than, I guess going back to normal, because like there's no more back to normal. Like, that's just, for a while, that is just how life is going to be.
Right.
But things have been moving, and there's a vaccine now, that there's new people in charge. So it's I'm hoping for the best. We all are hoping for the best. Does it mean I'll be less critical of our new leadership? No, I'm going to be just as critical as I was the last leadership, as it were. So I think it's responsibility to all of us just to try to, for the sake of others, my biggest thing is be respectful to individual people. Like I'm not trying to start shit. I would never try to endanger anybody. And those are just simple rules I live by. And it's sadly, some people don't,
I know. It's like, I mean, you've seen me say this in the videos I post, but meeting people where they're at, that's the thing that we all have to try to do. It's not easy, especially if the other person isn't trying to do that also. But I think that that's the way to not be polarized. Try to see people for where their experience is taking them.
Yeah.
And try to do that to each other. It tends to balance out.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So back to you.
Yeah.
So recently, the theaters kind of on a break right now. What are Zoom theater workshops? Is like, do you guys have a theme to like your workshops? You've seen the screen, like what's?
Well, we actually did. We did a reading of a play called Below the Belt, which I had never heard of, and I cannot remember the playwright. And that was in October, and I was just rolling with it because I didn't know how to deal with it and to deal with it. And the director wanted to like direct it, so as best we could.
Yeah.
So we tried to choreograph times where I'd reach off screen, and then the other person would reach off screen, hopefully in the opposite direction, and we'd like grab something from each other, that kind of thing.
That's clever.
Yeah, which kind of worked. But it's hard because when the audience comes into play, like if you're recording it, you could do it, like right now.
Thanks for this cup of coffee.
yeah, right. Well, that's a good example because there was one point where I had to grab a cup of coffee from one of the people, one of the actors. And it works if the screen is set to where you are actually side by side.
Yeah.
Or above or below, right?
But
everyone's audience screen is not always going to be the same. So that's the part where we're
Hi Jason, how are you?
Yeah, right. And I'm like, I'm over here.
That's
Brady
funny.
Bunch, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But,
maybe if there's a way to keep one like one order of the rows, like keep them in one, but with Zoom it constantly changes depending on the person talking, right? Like
Yeah. So what
yeah,
we ended up doing, like
that's
that
funny.
was a full play. So we just did it live the best way we could, and we
Yeah.
just changed. We had like syncing virtual background that we
Yeah.
used, so that worked. But with the 10-minute play showcase type thing, if there is something where we really want the like reaching through the screen to be an actual effect,
Uh-huh.
we'll just record it
Yeah.
so that in the night of scenes, when that
Mhm.
one when it's time, when it's that one's time slot, we just throw the recording up there. But yeah, it's been an interesting learning curve, and I honestly think that some of it's gonna stick. Like some
Mhm.
of it will stick around. I can easily see, once live theater comes back, having live performances and also having a streamed performance of it just constantly. That
Yeah.
used to be like a very niche kind of thing, but I can see it being used as an actual tool from here on out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The webcam format, it's a very interesting it's very interesting style of storytelling.
Hmm.
Some movies have done it, some shows have done it now too,
Yeah.
and like it's funny to see that reflected in real time as well, because it seems silly to like you're acting a scene on this
Yeah.
on my
Yeah. Yeah.
computer, like, oh my god, but at the same time it's also quite it's clever, and like I think for a lot of businesses in long term, I think a lot of people are realizing that we don't have to have an office. We don't have to have people over to run this type of
Hmm.
business, so which could save money for lots of people. It is changing how business is being run right now.
Well, was it Snapchat, I think, that went completely virtual with their staff almost within like 3 or 4 months. They decided to make that decision, and it's I believe, I could be wrong, but I think that it was coming to the office was going to be just optional
Yeah,
from here on
yeah,
out,
yeah,
something like that. But yeah, that many companies seem to be at least approaching that idea on a serious level,
yeah,
which is cool because I mean, as Americans, we're always, for the most part, we're trying to go, right? We're trying to achieve, we're trying to get the dream,
yeah,
but a lot of times with a lack of work-life balance. So this kind of forced people to begin to look at the work-life balance,
yeah,
and then question, throw things out there like, hey, is there a place in my home where I can indeed just create a total office and have that be the setting? How is
mhm,
that going to work for me? Is it not?
yeah,
Things that people weren't necessarily considering before,
yeah,
now they're thinking about, which is
yeah.
a cool thing.
Working adults like you and I who don't have kids, who are who have much more freedom, it's been
Mhm.
kind of it's been really nice. But I have friends who have they have kids and all this, the teenagers and stuff running around, and I can understand like this is awful. This is
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I try to get away. My friend told me a story, like he was like I took my wife to dinner because we just needed like 2 hours away from the kids. I was like, I understand.
Yeah.
Because and a lot of marriages too. Some marriages aren't working out because they're seeing their husband more times than not, and like, I don't know why I married this guy, So,
Yeah.
it is you're very key on, it is a self reflection of what's going on in the world.
Yeah.
But that's cool. I'm glad that you can still work on your craft during, and you're still
Yeah.
doing workshops and stuff like that. That's good that they keep doing it. It's funny. I was looking into improv workshops
Mhm.
before the quarantine, because I wanted to kind of sharpen my skills in the summer. But then but they have online things. I'm thinking about it. I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
right now my focus is in it shouldn't be about doing those extra things until I get back to work. Because right now I'm waiting like everyone else is, so I have work waiting for me. That's the thing. Like it's just there around the corner,
Yeah.
and like people are getting sick, like fucking stop going out.
Yeah.
I hate having that feeling, but once I get vaccinated, I'm gonna feel up. I hope to feel more comfortable going out and doing more events and
Yeah,
in
me too. Me too.
yeah.
I got into Latin dance,
Oh, I've always wanted
mainly,
to take a Latin dance class.
yeah, mainly bachata, um, about 4 years ago, and I love it. It's so fun. But yeah, those congresses and festivals are not a good thing to have right now. And there have been a few in the community that have chosen to go ahead and continue to have like their small gatherings.
Oh,
But yeah, and it ended up getting like there was one case where one of the competitive dancers who I had met at the Reno Latin Dance Festival, actually, which is not happening. So I'm not saying it is. They're being very responsible about that. But he ended up contracting COVID and passed away. I believe
oh,
it was,
sorry.
yeah, because they've been dancing together.
Like let your guard down once, man. Like that's
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing.
that
Sorry, I know I jumped back to the COVID thing for a
no,
second.
no. It's like
Yeah,
it's what's going on right now. So COVID's
yeah,
just gonna be part of the conversation for a while. That just
yeah.
I've settled on it. But you mentioned you took bachata.
Bachata, yeah.
Bachata, yeah.
It's great. I love it.
How long have you been doing dance and what dances have you like? I mean, you did sports before, and then like here
Mhm.
this is the thing too. Like for many guys, especially theater or when they start doing theater, you know, like there's a standoffish point like, oh, I don't want to do dance or I don't want to learn. But I mean, if you're gonna do music theater, it's gonna help you. It's the reason I took dance because I took dance because I had a bad experience, not with you, but when we did West Side Story, because the people we worked with were just, I felt like I was thrown in the water and only you were helping me when it comes to like,
Yeah,
I'm not a bad dancer. I'm not a great dancer. I'm under the category that moves well because I was in a boy band. I did more hip hop when I was younger, but like in terms of like transitioning, learning like traditional jazz, just simple like things that you would do in musical theater.
yeah.
That took some time. That's still something I'm not great at, but I could do a decent pirouette, you know. But I'm not great at it. But you trained as a dancer for different, you know, throughout your career. Like what have you studied? What have you learned?
Well, yeah, I transitioned from baseball to dance, and I'm from athletics to dance. And I mean, personally, dance and cheer are athletic
Very,
like things to do. Some
very,
people argue
very.
that point, but I think there's no argument, especially cheerleading. That's a sport. It is a sport.
Have you
But
had a cheerleader crush your arm with their legs?
dude, yeah, exactly. It's like, I mean, come on, they're strong, man.
They're very
And
strong.
and yeah, so I also I did aerial arts for a little while. I didn't do it professionally, but I studied tissue silks. So Enrique and I have that in common.
Oh,
But,
cool.
yeah, and yeah, so I started. But high school was when I started dancing. Late high
Okay.
school. SRO got me into it. And I took jazz. I took some ballet. I didn't take enough ballet. I'm not saying I regret that, but if I went back and did it again, I would definitely take a lot of ballet.
Hmm.
Um, and musical theater and tap. Erin Landry at Fullerton College put me through the paces with regard to tap, and I'm grateful for it. She's awesome.
That's cool.
But yeah, and I just kind of moved through it there. And working at Disney, the
Hmm.
dance spots I was doing, I would learn different types of choreography, and then keep studying aside from that, and then my abilities grew from there.
Yeah.
But yeah, mainly musical theater, jazz, tap, and then I was in a contemporary company from like 2015 to 20 like early 2016 in San Juan Capistrano, and so that was cool. That was the first time I had been in a contemporary company. I like contemporary dance a lot because it's very, if you can't act with it, your performance is not gonna
Yeah.
get through.
Very, very expressive.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's why I like it so much. But yeah, I've studied mainly those types of dance. Dabbled in swing, um, a little bit of jive, a little bit of bachata and Latin dance.
No,
So I've gone
that's
around
cool.
the whole thing. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, because I look at your I look at your pedigree and like it's like maybe you run into more theater performers that have the same pedigree and stuff, but there's also, I feel like I feel like I run into more just actors, you know, than I do people that are like, oh, I studied this. Maybe that's more of a East Coast thing where people like study more disciplines of theater. Whereas like maybe in West Coast, I just mean more actors. Be like, oh yeah, I came from Missouri, and then
I think you're right. Yeah,
yeah, right.
especially because of Broadway on the East.
Yeah,
You know?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. I agree with that. Yeah, it's funny you bring that up because when I do mention that I sing and dance, people, I don't know if surprise is the right word, but they're kind of like thrown for a minute, like, oh, really?
Yeah.
Like they weren't expecting that to come out of an actor. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, at least, because there's theater here, and you're right. It is kind of mostly in Orange County, but I feel like a lot of entertainers who are here, they either they try to do film, or they end up doing like theme park or cruise line agva stuff,
Yeah.
And which is a great place to be, like I think anytime, I feel like anytime you're an entertainer and you're making a profit and making, like, you're surviving as an entertainer, that's a win,
Totally.
because that's
Yeah.
always been the goal, for
I
all
agree.
of us,
Yeah.
'cause for me, as an Asian kid, like I grew up constantly, my acting career was always like with the lingering feeling of overbearing, not overbearing, but like you're gonna do something else, right? Dental schools, like my dad's always trying to get me to do other things. He supported me we watched what I did and stuff, but it was never like it was never like my boy's gonna be doing this, or like it was very much begrudging, but he
Yeah.
enjoyed it. He saw my talent. He appreciated it, but he was worried, like how he's gonna make an income, how he's gonna have future doing. And I want to tell lots of parents out there, if your kid wants to do anything, support them, and that support can only make them stronger. And if you have the support if you have the support of anybody that just believes in you, it goes for miles.
It really does, and it sets in later, which is an interesting the realization of that. You know what I mean? The
Yeah.
importance of it tends to set in with you later. Um, it's so interesting when it comes to the arts because you're right. I didn't have that experience, thankfully. My parents have been very supportive.
Yeah.
My mom was always like, I mean, in some respects, I guess I could say maybe they could have even been a little bit more on the no, stick to this for much longer or for a little bit longer side. But they were like all for, what we wanted to get into, what things we wanted to try and
It's
do,
awesome.
which is a great thing. It cultivates creativity and it cultivates your ability to uh, be open-minded to trying different things. And
Yeah.
it's interesting with the arts because a lot of times, parents will put kids in piano, they put them in voice lessons, guitar, whatever. Music is a common thing. Dance, of course. I think dance tends to be taken a little bit more seriously as a profession for the most part, especially if there is talent there. Uh, Parents, in my experience anyway, have tended to be more lenient with regard to their kids wanting to study dance professionally. But when it comes to music, sometimes it's funny. We put kids in arts to like build them up and to teach them those things and to teach them the discipline of working on an instrument or working on dance or something. And then when they say, "Hey, I really want to do this," it's like, "But wait a minute, no, that's not okay."
Yeah.
And I don't agree with that at all. Like you just said, it's like
Yeah.
the
I
support.
thought you want to be a doctor. Like,
Right? Yeah.
yeah.
But you put me in voice for 8 years, Mom. And now I want to be an opera singer. It's like,
But I meet people who ignored their passions, and they are doctors. They are somewhat successful. They have everything they want, but like there's an overwhelming feeling of them. Like I've noticed that even though they're successful and have all their needs taken care of, there's like a ghost of a memory that they still yearn to do,
Yeah.
and they look at me, or they look at you, and then like, wow, look, you're doing it, like you're living your life, and you're doing what you love. And I was like, well, don't you? I was like, no. Like, I hate being a doctor. I hate I'm like, well, I'm like, why didn't you ever, stick with whatever, and then like, because my parents did this, and I thought I made a decision that I was on the right track. I'm like, well, you have success. You are, like, life is, every decision you make in life is like the key component of how, I guess, you see your own success.
Mhm.
Because yeah, I'm me personally, like it's great that I have the career I have as a DJ, and I get the feedback, and I get the opportunities I have.
Mhm.
I don't take that for granted at all, you know. And part of me does wish and miss performing. I mean, I miss performing a lot. I do miss doing theater. I miss auditioning. I miss singing. But at the same time, I left because when I was acting, it was a much different world where like I wasn't given as much opportunity just because I'm not in the mindset of just casting. That's just, but now things are much more like people are like, oh, we need diversity. Like we can't just have
Yeah.
a bunch of pretty Riverdale kids. We need to have like more different palettes and things like that. It's one of those things where I do think about maybe dabbling back into it, or getting new headshots, maybe hitting up my old agent, who I don't even know what he's doing anymore. And that's the thing, when I started working with Invisible Touch, I was getting booked on more jobs through IT than I was my agent. So I was like, well, I think I'm just gonna stick and do this. And
Mhm.
it's a weird feeling going from like, oh well, like we like your guitar, but like we don't know what to do with you, or like, would you mind taking this ensemble role, or and things like that, to being like, oh, guitar, Disney wants you for this, or like, oh, I have this big event for Universal, they want you to DJ MC, or like I have this MCing job for this big corporate company, and like like it's it's nice being like in need, like someone like being called
Demand,
up,
right?
yeah,
Yeah,
being in
yeah,
demand, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. That's cool, so like it's one of those things where I feel it's good, and I try to reconfirm those relationships and keep those contracts going, but yeah, part of me still like, dude, I'm when I see productions of theater and I see people like sharing like acting reels, and like going to auditions, like I really do miss the audition scene, like that's something that I really had fun, like I had fun auditioning. And then when it came to like meeting people after and find, but not saying all my experiences were bad, but like
Mhm.
just like like I said, some people are just like really, if they don't know you, they see you as competition, so they're just standoffish,
Yeah.
um but it wasn't always like that. You were always cool. I have other people that I want to have on. You're the first actor that I've got to interview, so
Oh, really?
yeah, I'm hoping to do
Cool.
more. Yeah. I'm realizing maybe this is my niche. I should just hit up a bunch of actors because like we love talking about ourselves. Uh, we're a little
That's great.
we're a little
Yeah,
narcissistic, Yeah,
if you're doing an interview podcast, that is a great place to start. That's for sure.
yeah. and
Um,
and they'll expose my content, and like because they want to show their content.
yeah, yeah,
It's
that's
it's
true.
it's
Man, I'm the guy, like when I go on auditions now, and I've had a journey. Like there was a time when I used to get super nervous, and the only time I get nervous for auditions is if I don't know what I'm doing.
Mhm,
Like if I haven't been disciplined enough to really prepare myself properly,
mhm.
and I still go in for the audition, then I'm like mentally I'm just all over the place. And that energy, that's one thing that I appreciate. Good audition coaches teach this to the nines. You have to walk in there as balanced as you can be,
Mhm.
and the role is yours. Walk in there like the role is yours, and perform it that way. Perform it as best you can for them. Don't just
Yeah.
do it. Perform it. If you give a performance, most of the time you'll get called back,
Mhm.
guaranteed, because you've already shown. Not only is your confidence now exuding energetically across the table, right? Here we go, the law of attraction. Okay.
Mhm.
But also you're showing them that you are disciplined enough to and take it seriously, and you know what you're doing.
Mhm.
And at the end of the day, they have a job. They have to cast this part. That's really
Yeah.
all it is. You
Yeah.
know, it's not personal for the most part. Maybe it is with some casting directors. I don't know, but I don't know any casting directors who think that way. It's
Mhm.
like, hey, I just have like I got these 5 things I got to get done by Friday, and the producer's like on my ass, and I got to get it done.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
really what it is. So if you help make their job easier, your chances are better. But yeah, I'm the guy in the audition room now that walks around with a fucking like, well, pre-COVID times, like a tin of mints, asking if you want one to break the ice. You know,
That's great. No, that's genius.
yeah. Where are you from?
That's
What do you do?
yeah,
And then
yeah.
also like the why am I forgetting terms? Jesus, it's been a while since I went on a physical audition. But the
What was it
the
like? The way back,
yeah,
way back when?
the session runner. There you go. The session runner. If they're taking a break and they walk outside, say they have to go to the bathroom and they walk out of the audition room and they see you running around talking to people, that stuff sticks out to them. So it's
Yeah.
like when you walk in the room, they already see that you're a person who can get along with people. You try to get to know everybody, especially if it's a commercial. That's great,
Yeah.
personality based.
No one wants to hire an asshole,
Nobody wants to hire an asshole. That's exactly right. And moving from that, Val Kilmer's career is a good example of that.
Yeah.
There's lots of accounts of him, and not to throw him under the bus. He's a great actor. I
Love
think
Val Kilmer.
Val Kilmer's a wonderful actor, but there have been accounts of his commitment to the set.
Oh yeah.
He has a hard time with that. He would show up like hours late for shoots, and it's like, you do that enough, people aren't going to want to work with you anymore.
Yeah.
That's just how it is. And
it's counter to, like, I always think I think I might have been, I don't know who told me this comparison, but like Keanu Reeves, is he the best actor? No, like, but like
right.
he does good. He's good in his own realm of, like, in his own realm of act. It's different. It's like Christopher Walken. It's his own genre of,
yeah, that's a good
of acting.
Yeah.
Could he do Othello? No, but could he play a character similar to Keanu Reeves? Yeah, totally.
Totally.
He's everything you hear about Keanu. He's the nicest person. He's so humble. He's so, like, he always, like, says thank you, and he's a very nice, and that reads, every experience I've heard from him from other people in the industry have been nothing but delightful. And you bring up Val Kilmer, and like what's funny? I know he's an asshole, but like, there's some Val Kilmer stories that I think are hilarious. Like, I guess when he filmed Top Gun with Tom Cruise, because Tom Cruise is also very kind, despite the COVID thing. He's a very nice guy. He's always very friendly from the start of his career. I guess Val Kilmer, he told Tom, "Hey Tom, dude, I got your gift. I got you a whole crate of these Italian wine from this villa and blah blah blah." It's like, oh, thanks. Like, yeah, I put them over there by the tree. And then he's like, oh yeah, just go get them, and it's for you. I appreciate it. And then I guess he timed it so that when Tom went to get the wine cases, the sprinklers would go off, so he had to walk.
Oh no.
And, like,
oh geez.
And I'm like, yeah, that's fucked up. But that's pretty funny, Val. That's pretty funny, Val. Yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely a class clown kind of. In that regard, yeah. Practical joker, for sure.
I saw a recent like subject piece on Val Kilmer about his career now, and like he survived, I believe, lung cancer. Recently, or throat cancer recently.
Yeah.
So he's a survivor, but he's humbled down a lot. I've heard like he's been very, like, he even admits, like, I was an asshole, and like he's a much different person now. He's humbled down now. He goes to cons and he talks about doing Batman Forever, and like it's a funny. He's really embracing, like, I think he's in his later years of his career now, where he's just like, I'm just happy I got to work. I'm sorry I was an asshole.
That's good.
That's good. I don't know him personally, but I've heard he's been doing a lot better. So
I love watching him act. God, he did a one-man show. I can't remember what the name of it was, but it was on Mark Twain, and he played Mark Twain.
I remember that. Yeah.
I mean, it's the best acting I've ever seen him do. He completely became Mark Twain. I mean, it was on the level of like Philip Seymour Hoffman as Capote, which is one of them, and Daniel Day-Lewis as Lincoln. I mean, it was that type of immersion into the character. And with the type of actor that I am, and what I strive to do when I play characters, I mean, that had me just like excited as all hell. I mean, that's the type of approach that I love. And he was so good. I
remember reading about it. I think I saw some scenes of him. It looked really well done. So with your pedigree of skill, of dancing and acting and stuff, has there ever been a skill you had to learn that you were unfamiliar with and uncomfortable with?
Singing.
Okay. See, that's the opposite of me. Yeah, because my audition process, I knew that if I sang, so if the order was sing, act, and then dance, I was more confident. Okay, I'll get the role. Or I'll get a part. If it
Mhm.
was sing, dance, and then act, I'm like I'm fucked because like I'm not. I can dance, but like learning things like on the spot, like shit. I'm like
Yeah.
But like if I had to sing and act, I was like okay, I know I'll make a strong like start from those two, and I'll get. And for the most part, from my auditions, like I'm one of the types that like if I audition, I'll get a role. Maybe not the role I want, but I'll get a role
Right.
or I'll get an ensemble piece. You know, it was
You know
never.
you're castable.
Yeah,
That's something.
I
Yeah,
was
yeah.
completely castable. You know, so but later on when I wanted more, that's when I was like, okay, come on, like that's when I was like, I'm good for. I'm gonna try to audition for more things or see more opportunities come up. So I turned down some ensemble pieces, but I was for the most part castable on those skills. So, but for you, you're insecure about your singing.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and I still like it's still the one thing of the three that makes me like that gets my blood pressure up. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
makes me anxious. I don't know why. I think it's because I didn't feel I've never felt like I really studied it enough to
Mhm.
feel really confident at
Yeah.
it. And battling the fight with myself to because of that work harder at it as opposed to be scared of it and back away from it and just cultivate like my acting and my dance for the if I were to layer the three it would be acting that that I felt were most confident for me would be acting, dancing, singing. Acting, dancing really close, singing further down.
Yeah.
But over the years I've practiced more and have learned when it comes to training the ear that it's just a matter of repetition for
Mhm.
in many regards, you know. And I've developed the confidence that I have tone. You know, some people don't have tone,
You're right.
and
Yeah.
that is not the case with me. And so it's really a matter of just work, you know, working at it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In my history of learning voice, I'm not a voice teacher, but like in terms of like what I've studied with choir and different vocal coaches, I can kind of like place my vocal cords in my mind when I sing. I don't know if that's normal quality
yeah,
people think of when like in terms of like hitting notes or in terms of like just understanding my voice.
yeah,
I have a very deep understanding of like how my vocal cords work. So that's why when it came to singing, I was like, okay, whatever the key is or whatever, I just need to like focus in and I know I can nail it,
hmm
But that's like the training I've had in my past. So it's funny that because the things that I'm insecure about are things that you're confident about.
yeah,
So it's kind of it's a funny parallel.
yeah,
And
yeah.
you're a baritone, correct?
Baritone, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Baritone. I can get if I'm warm and the voice is feeling good, I can get up to an A above middle C.
Baritone is
It's like a second, the high part of a second tenor range
yeah,
at that point. But yeah,
leading ingenue type. Baritone's a good place to be, especially for your look and for your vocal range.
yeah,
That's primo like Hammerstein, like era.
yeah, yeah. It is.
So
Lyric musical theater is usually
yeah,
set in
yeah, yeah.
baritone
So
in
I can see how I mean I don't know I can't remember if I heard you sing. So I can't see how that would be. We're usually our worst critics. Have you been told that you were working your singing, or is this just a personal thing for you?
Sort of, but I mean, it's more like a personal thing. I
Okay.
can't say that I've ever had anybody really tell me that like you're terrible, you should stop.
Okay.
um, other than my
See,
other than my own insecurities, but it's more like, well, you're a little off there. You know, work on this. This needs to be worked on, which ultimately are not things to be subconscious about. But it's crazy what we do to ourselves. Like they'll
yeah,
take
yeah,
notes like that, and then you blow
yeah,
it up in your head to this mountain of, oh my god, I sound like a dying cat, but it's not
yeah,
true.
yeah,
Yeah, it's really just a matter of working on placement, and that's one thing I've started to learn. It's like if you start listening, especially once you learn, understand breath technique and stuff like that, which I
Mhm.
do, you know, from the vocal training I do have as an actor and a singer.
Yeah,
Once you learn how to control those things, it's a matter of like understanding placement for the most part,
yeah,
because
yeah,
a note can be on but sound more sharp or more flat because you're placing it weird or you're
yeah,
holding it in a weird spot.
yeah,
And so that's why it's such a nuanced thing to train the voice, I think. And but listening to singers who have really good placement it helps me, to be
Yeah.
honest, in trying to really find how they're placing their notes and like match that. I mean, I'm not gonna go and sing like Danny Calvert's songs. I mean, Danny Calvert is a high tenor. There's no way
Yeah.
I'm generally not gonna hit those notes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you're
Yeah.
not gonna see me in Rock of Ages
Yeah.
screaming to the heavens. That's not
Yeah.
really my style. But
See, those are all the auditions. Like, oh, I'm not for that. Like, I like the pop musicals were like those were my strong suits. So like for me, it was like, yeah, I'll get cast in this. I know verbatim just because of my vocal range, they'll cast me this.
yeah,
It's one of those things where I look forward to seeing those. You know, but then when like I get dance, it's like, oh fuck. I mean, I can like my dancing depended on like how like my day, depending on how attentive I was to, or like how complicated the dance routines were. And sometimes they're simple. Sometimes like, fuck, man, that's like a lot of like hard, like really specific, like I would never audition for 42nd Street. Like that would never happen, just because I know that's such a technical dance song,
mhm,
or musical for that matter. But it was dancing's always been something I like to dance, but but having to do it to choreograph to. I think there's still like a male stigma I have. A lot of guys have it where like you can't, you're I'm too manly. You have that little click in your head that's like,
yeah,
oh, I shouldn't have my hand like this, because like I'm too much forgot. It's still in there. Although I've taken classes and I've cleaned my technique up a little bit. Well, back then, but it's still in my head. It's click clacking. You still got the male ego click
yeah,
clacking musical theater. It's
hmm
hard to get rid of that because
totally,
not that my friends tease me about it, but I don't know. It's weird because you think in the audience, this guy's gonna think I'm gay, but which shouldn't matter. It doesn't matter. But at the same
right,
time, it's still as a guy, it still bothers you in musical theater. Because
yeah,
there've been times I've had to brush off someone's like snidey musical theater remarks,
hmm
Um, but at the end of the day, like I, it's what entertaining is what I love. It's what you love, and I wanted to go back to that moment when you talked about your church performance and the energy you felt
yeah,
from the performance lingering on, and like
yeah,
and kind of to this day is something, and that's something for me too, that like that energy from an audience, the energy of like my favorite feeling is like that, like this the right when you jump into a scene or jump into a show, and like it's just you and the stage and everything you prepped, that went from studying and training into now it's just straight instinct and performance, and like you're in the zone, like that warm glow of being in the zone in a scene. I miss that. You know what
yeah.
I'm talking about? Like you
Yeah,
like
oh, yeah,
yeah.
absolutely, absolutely. And it's like that's the magic of live performance that can't be. There's nothing else that's like that. I can't imagine. There's nothing else that's like that. At least not in my experience. I
Mhm.
mean, reading a room, feeling energy from people, the energetic exchange can happen in different types of circumstances with different careers in life. You get it as a DJ, I'm sure. If your audience, if you're playing stuff that people are feeling, then you're getting that back.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
it's not quite the same as when you're on stage
it isn't.
performing for
Yeah,
somebody. And
yeah.
so it's like, and then even within that, you have musicals and you have a play where like um like After the Fall or like Death of a Salesman, where there's a deep dramatic story at play there. And if you're in the character portraying that and living within it, the audience is with you. That moment where you're together is
Mhm.
like, I mean, that's what drives us to keep doing it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That's the
Totally
best
agree.
part.
Totally
It's hard to
agree.
get that in film. You can't really. It's hard to do
It's
that with
different. It's
TV.
very, very
Yeah.
different. And like or even like vlogging and talking to a camera is much different than having like the energy of an audience watching you. And
Yeah.
like I feel like so much in my normal life there's just so much scatterbrain and so much like nonsense and like anxiety, but like when
Yeah.
I'm on a stage, when I perform, like that's the rare moments in life where I have clarity.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
it's hard to explain because people are like, oh, you're in front of people, don't you get nervous? Like, no, like when I perform, like that's the most like harmonious time I feel, because the rest of my life I feel I feel chaotic and I feel like
Yeah.
I feel anxiety and stuff. But because when you're up against, not up against, but when you're vulnerable in front of an entire audience, like you have nothing holding you back. So then there's this kind of freedom of performing, right? Like, do you feel that way too?
Yeah, and I mean, like Gatsby last year, I felt like it took me to a next level. I mean, personal life wise, I've been through part of my, I mean, mostly for my own doing, a lot in the past couple of years, and a relationship ended right before I went on tour,
Oh,
and
sorry to hear that.
when I came back, yeah, me too, I brought a lot of it on myself, and we can address that on another podcast.
Sure.
That's where part of the personal journey comes from.
Well, after Valentine's
It's
Day, we'll just do a whole
yeah,
breakup.
right. Yeah, it's a lesson in understanding yourself. That's definitely what.
Yeah.
But I now I was able to take that with me into Gatsby. There's certain aspects of Gatsby
Oh
that
yeah.
matched that experience,
Yeah.
and so it really was a perfect storm in many regards. And the woman playing Daisy, my good friend Haley, and her boyfriend Jacob, um, were both in it. He played Nick, and the three of us had a really cool energy together.
Yeah.
And but they both, as actors, are willing to address their vulnerability and go there. And so when you have that, you're able to just your performance flies. I mean,
Yeah.
you can go to if you're open minded like that, you can actually become real people on stage, and that's the important thing. And you're right. When I'm on stage, I am not nervous at all.
Yeah.
I'm calm because I'm living. You know,
Mhm.
if you do all your prep work right, you can just live, and that's the best part.
Yeah. Even when like even if I wasn't 100% on like my script or my choreography, you know, like for some reason, like when you get on there, it just everything just synergizes. And like even if you make a mistake, you improvise, or you find little things to save yourself, you know, and like maybe only you notice, or it's cool that other people notice. Like I think one time I did Grease, where one of the props moved into an area where the choreography was. So rather than do my normal choreography, I jumped off the chair and did like a cartwheel or something. And then like they're like, "We love what you did." I was like, I had to. Like that was just
Yeah.
It was a natural reaction to the what happened in character in the moment in the scene, you know. So there's small magical things like that I love as well, in terms of like the theater, you know, when things change and you have to adapt to it.
Yeah. And when, like you said, props fall or pieces of costumes fall on the floor, or something that wasn't glass breaking is a great example. When that happens, I mean, you have to address it. Like you all of a sudden have to address this very live thing that just occurred that was absolutely not rehearsed, and the audience knows it.
Yeah.
You know, most of the time the audience will know, and so it's like this mutual moment of, "Ooh, this is fun. What do we do now?" You know, and then and if you go into it without like, if you have fun, that's another thing. If you just have fun and don't take yourself so seriously that you freak out about it, then it's a wonderful experience, and everybody has a good experience.
People hate phones going off in the theater, but if I'm on stage, I love it, because I will
Oh man,
tell your wife I'll call her later.
Have you seen Patti LuPone's videos?
No, I haven't.
Oh, dude, look them up. She she doesn't really like it.
Of course
but
not.
She addresses it immediately.
Yeah.
I mean, she jumps out of character and like talks right to the audience member.
I've seen Nathan Lane do some stuff with people, which is really funny. Yeah. If you don't know, Patti LuPone is a very renowned Broadway stage. She's on television and movies too, but she's a big time.
She's had a very illustrious.
Yeah. She's
sure.
She's one of the big ones. So for the very casual theater goer that's watching,
right. Who's Patti LuPone?
Let me education. Let me just get this the whole thing of all these theater historians here. But dude, man, so before we cap this, I really we'll definitely have you back on for more. You know, I feel like we only touched the surface of your career and stuff, but we could definitely do more in the future.
I agree. There's a lot I'd love to talk about.
Yeah. Is there any, since you were definitely a person for me that was very kind to me, and I want to thank you again for that.
That means a lot to me, by the way. I'm glad you pointed that out, and I'm glad that stuck with you. That's wonderful.
Yeah. I want. I think I mentioned to Enrique. We were like, Jason should. I think he'd be a great teacher. He should be, and stuff. So I want to ask you for any young artists out there who's pursuing, acting or dance or whatever artistic venture they have. What advice would you give them to get through it, or build their own confidence? What would you want to tell them?
Let's see. Well, keep at it is, of course, a piece of advice, and you hear it from almost everybody who's asked about that in the arts. But it's really true. You just have to keep at it. That's the only way you're going to learn experience. I mean, CEOs don't become CEOs without putting in 20 years at the company. It's the same type of work ethic has to be there, and fall in love with the process. That's another thing. I've struggled with that. I love being in a show. I love working on a show. I love getting a role. But the business end of it, so to speak, the keeping up with your talent, keeping up with your abilities, cultivating that, and ultimately handling the business aspect of how you have to approach your own promotion, getting representation and whatnot. Classes, you fall in love with the process. Find really find it within yourself to enjoy that, and find a way to enjoy it, and it'll make it a much more enriching experience for you. Some people quit because it becomes too much, but if you just learn to fall in love with it, then you'll end up succeeding ultimately. Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah.
I hope you get to share. Keep up, man. Keep it up doing what you're doing, and be you, because you like I said earlier, you were a very talented person, and you're one of the people that stuck out to me, that really made my experience in theater much more welcoming. So once again, I want to thank you for that. But are you working anything right now you want to promote, or I'll definitely put your Instagram, things like that.
Well, I did just book a film role, and that's shooting at the beginning of March. I signed an NDA, so I can't really talk about it.
Yeah.
But once I get the clearance to say anything about it, it'll be out there.
Yeah, we'll have you on. You can talk about the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. I totally will. It's an interesting role. It's a lot different from something I've played before, so I'm gonna have to dig a little bit. But that's great. I mean, that's what I want. That's the kind of roles you want to take.
I think
to challenge you.
I think part one of our interview is we covered the theater experience, and I think the next one we should cover the film experience of that we both can share about.
Yeah. I'd love to talk about.
It's a much different world.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It really
So
is. It's a different beast.
We'll put a thumbtack on that one. And your Instagram is I'll post it down below, but if you want to share right now,
it's at Jason Todd 3. So
not one or two. One or two, those guys are assholes, but 3, that's the one you want to add.
Yeah, right. Exactly. At Jason Todd 3 is my IG. Yeah.
And that's for
me. That and Facebook are the main things.
Okay, cool. But dude, man, it was great having you on. I look forward to doing more stuff with you in the future. And check out Jason on Instagram. And any news that he has, I will definitely post. Yes. So good luck on that role. I hope it's awesome, and I can't wait to see it. All right, man. Well, it's good seeing you. I will we'll have you on again, and I hope you guys have enjoyed this podcast with Mr. Jason Evans. Once again, thank you guys. Be safe, be kind, and I'll see you on the next video. Peace.